Mr. Sergeant of Arms, invite the members into the chamber and close the doors. I hereby declare the House of Representatives of the 114th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee now in session. Will the members please stand? Will the visitors in the gallery please stand and remain standing through the Pledge of Allegiance? Representative Brooks will introduce the chaplain of the day. Representative Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Vincent Windrow from Olive Branch Church in Nashville. I have known Dr. Windrow for over 20 years, and he has been there for me through thick and thin. He has been there for my family when Akila, my son, was taken from me in a cruel act of violence. He has seen me through the toughest times in my life. He has shown patience, grace, understanding, and I truly cannot thank him enough for helping me maintain my faith through that time. While I'm especially thankful for his presence in my life, he has been there for so many others as well. Dr. Windrow's career is characterized by high-level leadership roles and a remarkable commitment to making a positive impact on both organizations and individuals. For 13 years, Dr. Windrow collaborated closely with his college roommate, Darrell Freeman, to lay the foundation for Zycron Inn. The duo dedicated and vision transformed Zycron into a leading technology. During his tenure as Vice President of Sales and Marketing, Dr. Windrow played a pivotal role in the company's growth. Transitioning from business world to full-time ministry, Dr. Windrow has assumed the role of primary visionary spokesperson for the Olive Branch Church for a remarkable 25 plus years. Under his leadership, the church has experienced tremendous growth, welcoming over 2,500 new members, baptizing over 500 new converts, and adding a Murfreesboro location 20 years ago. Dr. Windrow oversaw Dr. Windrow oversaw a monumental $6.6 million building project, relocating the church headquarters from Antioch to Nashville. From this central hub, he spearheaded a range of local and international initiatives. For 9 straight years, Olive Branch hosted a free summer academic enrichment camp for area K through 5 students. Its annual 5K provided thousands of dollars of support for the YMCA Feed America First. Over the last 10 years, the church has awarded over $100,000 in scholarship to college-bound high school seniors. The church 12 Tree of Christmas initiative provides financial support for local and nonprofits in the area of poverty, hunger, and homelessness. Beyond the pulpit, Dr. Windrow is an author and has become a renowned national keynote speaker and conference presenter. Dr. Windrow is currently leading the effort to restore Cemetery School, a segregation-era facility built to house the education opportunities for residents of Cemetery community, located in Rutherford County, Tennessee, in close proximity to the Stones River National Cemetery and Battlefield. It is my pleasure to introduce my pastor, Dr. Vincent Windrow.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, and to all of you here. It's good to be back here. I was here about, 14, 15 months ago. So that you know, I'm wearing a special tie clip. It belonged to Norwood Mesh. Norwood Mesh was my father. Several years ago, he retired as a full bird colonel after serving 30 years in the United States Air Force. Last month, we buried him in the Arlington National Cemetery. So I'm delighted to wear his tie clip today. I'm not here to pray about you. I'm really here to pray for you. Among other things in our society, prayer has been weaponized. I'm not here to do that. So let us begin. God, we give you thanks and praise for this day. God, we know that promotion doesn't come from the east, the west, or the south. God, you are the judge. Promotion comes from you. You set one down and put another up. So God, we come thanking you for these people, for these representatives, God, who are in high position. God, we pray that they'll find within themselves the courage to lead, the conviction to vote, the compassion to help, God, and the commitment to do what is right in your sight. I pray that they find in their colleagues collegiality and a sense of collaboration. I pray that they find in their respective communities, constituents, citizens who will do their civic duties. God, I pray for their families. God, I pray for their dreams and their ambitions and aspirations. God, I pray for their hopes. God, I pray for them as they travel to and fro, as they represent the interests, the best interests of their constituents. God, and finally, let the words of their mouths and the meditations of their hearts be pleasing and acceptable in your sight. God, may you be satisfied with the proceedings. God, may you give all of this that they do and will do your stamp of approval. We give you thanks and praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
God bless you.
Representative Brooks will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Roll call.
Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Speaker, 94 members present.
Let the journal reflect Representative Raper and Camper are excused. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Welcoming, honoring, and announcements.
Welcome, honor, and announcements. Chairman Kumar, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request that the Sergeant at Arms escort our guests into the chamber.
Mr. Sergeant of Arms, please escort the guests to the well. Representative Kumar, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, honorable members of the Tennessee House of Representatives of the 114th General Assembly, honored guests and staff. My friends, it is our duty to honor and recognize Mrs. Margie Mehar and her family for their faith and patriotism. At the Memorial Day ceremony last year in White House, Tennessee, Mrs. Mehar was the keynote speaker. She read a letter that she had written to her brother, a brother she had barely known. This is a letter to her brother whom she did not really know, because Randall, her brother, had given his life in service of our country. Friends, we need to hear that letter also. It is about love of God, love of country, love of family. And these are the values that are dear to our hearts. After listening to this letter, we will know what it means when we say, God bless America. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And kindly recognize Mrs. Mehar.
Thank you. She is recognized.
Thank you, Dr. Kumar, for this tremendous honor to recognize my brother. I'll read the letter as follows. Hi, Roland. This is your baby sister, Margie, the youngest of the 8 children in our family. I'm all grown up now, and I'm here with our brother, Paul, in Seoul, South Korea. We are the only living survivors, or we are the only siblings alive. How I wish I could remember you, Roland. Everyone else remembers you, and I tried so hard to believe I did, but I was just a toddler when you left home to join the Army. As a young girl, I would stare at your picture and think about you. You and Paul were the only blonde-haired, blue-eyed kids in the family. Sadly, my earliest and most vivid memory is when 2 men dressed in military uniform came to our home. I'm sure that's the day that Mom and Daddy were told about your death. As we stood in the entryway, my little arms were wrapped tightly around Mom's legs as she accepted the USA flag. I remember the flag being unfolded on the living room floor. It was so big, it seemed to fill the room, and I probably sensed the sorrow that also filled the room that day. Even then, Roland, I don't believe our family ever gave up hope for your return. Paul remembers the day you left home. You were so excited about going to boot camp. You ran down those front steps, jumped into your buddy's car where your girlfriend was waiting, and off you went. You never looked back. Paul looked up to you so much. You were the trumpet player, the track star, the great swimmer. He remembers walking to church with you as you carried your trumpet. Paul loved to reminisce about your athletic ability. When you were running in a race for state championship, one of your shoes came off, but that didn't stop you. You persevered to the end. I'm so happy to tell you that Paul was proud to follow in your footsteps. He ran track, was a great swimmer, and to this day can play his trumpet with class. He was also blessed with a beautiful singing voice. Well, our entire family has grown. We all married and have families of our own. You are uncle to 28 nieces and nephews, great uncle to 54, and great uncle to, well, I've kind of lost count. I know there's 4 more on the way. 2 of our nephews bear your name. Roland, it is so very important for me to tell you that you have never been forgotten, that you have always been loved and deeply missed. There was never a family celebration, a holiday, or just our day-to-day lives that you were not remembered. Occasionally, we would see your friends and be reminded of how much they missed you too. And even though I don't remember you, you have been the missing piece in our family. When I was young, I asked Mom if you could possibly be the one buried in the tomb of the unknown soldier in Washington, D.C. She said she didn't know, but she thought it might be possible. I really wanted it to be you. As a high schooler, I was given the opportunity to write a patriotic speech. In my speech, I spoke of your sacrifice for our country. I believe it was then that I began to understand what others already knew. You are a true American hero. A few years ago, I was sharing with a friend about you. Standing close by were several South Korean college students who overheard my conversation. One of the young men came over to me and said, "Thank you." I was puzzled and questioned why he would thank me. He stated that it was because of your sacrifice, Roland, that his country is free. One of our family's most treasured possessions are the letters you wrote home. You were a wonderful writer, and I feel I now know you from your letters. You spoke freely of our Christian faith and your trust in God. What a comfort for us to know that you are safe and secure in heaven. In the last letter we received from you, written in Penang Yang, you were hoping to be home for Christmas 1950. None of us realized that the war was just beginning and that we would never see you again on earth. My son Robert compiled 2 scrapbooks of your life, from your birth certificate until the very end of the Korean War. We have it all carefully and lovingly preserved. Roland, if God would give you a glimpse of today, Paul and I are so blessed to experience and see the freedom that your sacrifice gave to the South Koreans. They too have been truly blessed because of you. We are here for the sole purpose of honoring you and all the fallen heroes. Your sacrifice has not been, nor will it ever be, forgotten. Until we meet again, dear brother, I remain forever grateful and proud, baby sister Margie. And sir, may I say something out of line what I shared with you? This morning I received a call from Fort Knox, Kentucky. It was our casualty officer giving me the news that my brother's remains have just been identified March 19th out in the Punch Bowl in Hawaii. And I was over the top. I thought, what an honor that God would give that to us today, the day I'm sharing this letter with you. It's been an honor. Thank you so much.
Chairman Kumar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, thank you for your love and attention. It is very touching, and it's the same feeling I had when I heard this last year in White House. Mr. Speaker, kindly join us for a picture. Thank you.
we are under welcoming, honoring, and announcements. Anyone seeking recognition? Chairman Clemens, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to take this moment. SSAA 4A state champion this weekend in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Representative Hurt, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I have two guests with me today. If you turn your attention to the gallery up to the right, I'll ask my youngest daughter, Addie, and her boyfriend, John Houston Hollingsworth, to stand. John Houston is actually a constituent of Chairman Grills, but they decided to spend a day of their spring break up watching us do the business of the state. So give them a warm General Assembly welcome. Thank you.
Chairlady Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, members, is the birthday of our Sergeant at Arms, Reuben. Please give him lots of love.
Representative McAlmon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, members. I have been asked to remind everybody that the Auctioneers' Day on the Hill is tomorrow. There will be a very healthy breakfast of donuts provided from 7:30 to 8:30 on the 8th floor. Thank you.
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my honor, it's my privilege to welcome a page today. He is a rising sophomore at Good Pasture Christian School with my daughter. His name is Hayden Abbott. He's got an astute keen on the political world. He may want to get in public office, and I'm so thankful that he is in Leader Lambert's district. So please welcome him. His father is just to my left. Jacob, thank you for being here and allowing him to see what happens on your House of Representatives here in the state of Tennessee. There's the leader. So welcome, Hayden. Thank you very much for being here today.
Representative McKenzie. Oh, at Chairman Clemens' desk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's that time again, the day that you all have been waiting for. I know the Speaker's been anxiously anticipating this day. The second annual Dress Like Joe Towns Day will be next Monday, March the 31st. So next Monday, if you need any advice, see Representative Towns, but please, he said, start off with corduroy would be the first choice, and then build from there. So, and you can see Representative Chairman Clemens for any badges that may be needed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Representative Hakeem.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to recognize from the city of Chattanooga, two-time state champions in basketball, 1A, Boys Preparatory School in Chattanooga, the Sentinels. So please give them a round of applause.
Chairman Baum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to recognize one of our pages today. It's Luke Tenpenny from Rutherford County. He's a sixth grader at Central Middle School, and he's a Boy Scout. Being here today fulfills one of his requirements to move up to the next rank. So join me in making him feel welcome. Thank you.
Chairman Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this Thursday morning, please drop by the Legislative Lounge here on the second floor. The Tennessee Car Dealers Association will be providing breakfast. They wanted me to make that announcement. Also, Mr. Speaker, I would be remiss if I did not congratulate the three-peat Bradley Central High School girls basketball team in the Division I 1A state championship. Not once, not twice, but 3 times in a row. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Chair Lady Carringer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. got to congratulate our great representative over here to the left on the Lady Vols going to Sweet 16. And two of those girls, the Darby girls, have one of the best stats and state reps in Tennessee. So I know he's tired, but he's on a high tie of being all the way from Columbus, Ohio today. And also want to say congratulations to our men's basketball team for going on to the Sweet 16. So it is sweet to be in the state of Tennessee today. Thank you.
Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Chisholm and I want to welcome all of you to the Tennessee Legislative Sportsman's Caucus Annual Breakfast and Meeting. This will be Wednesday at 7:30. So I want each of you to join us.
And after that, we will have activities on the yard. There may even be an archery contest between myself and Representative Todd. So everybody come by and check it out.
Representative Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, I'd like to welcome a page here today. Alex Isinger Hansen is a sixth grader at the Covenant School here in Nashville, and she's the daughter of my legislative assistant. She'll be graduating this spring, and this fall she'll be attending Lipscomb Academy. Alex is passionate about horseback riding and theater. She's currently preparing for a role in The Wizard of Oz. She's also a proud big sister to her younger brother, Barrett. Let's all welcome Alex here today.
Chairman Doggett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know that there's a member somewhere back in that direction who oftentimes talks about the District of Champions. Well, there may be a new District of Champions in the House here. The Loretta boys basketball team, the Mustangs, won the 2A state championship on Saturday. The girls team was in the semifinals last week. And from my hometown here in Giles County, we had the Richland Lady Raiders that made it to the semifinals as well. So Representative Capley and I would like to honor the Loretta boys basketball team for their championship season. Undefeated. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman Halsey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a reminder of the Bible study in the morning at 7:30 with Bill Geisel and 8E Echo. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Parkinson, the Leader Camper's desk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The announcement of Joe Towns Day has sped up Seersucker Caucus. And I think that's coming up Monday, the first Monday in April. So in order to reset our eyes after Dress Like Joe Towns Day, we're going to convene the Seersucker Caucus on Thursday, April 3rd. So make sure that you wear your seersuckers so that we can reset our eyes after Dress Like Joe Towns Day. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Leader Cochran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Chairman Russell and I would like to welcome Monroe County leadership. They're in the gallery to my left. If they wouldn't mind standing up, you can wave either one. This is many of their first trip to the Capitol, so we're excited to host them here today, and thank you all very much for welcoming them.
Thank you. Leader Lamberth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow will be the first outdoor day on the Hill. This is March 25th. There's a breakfast in the morning in room 5C in the Cordell Hull building from 8 to 9. And then lunch and an outdoor expo will take place at the Beth Harwell Plaza from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Y'all go check it out. It should be really nice.
Thank you. Representative Jones.
Thank you, colleagues. I just want to welcome a very special page, Miss Mabel Wise, who's a fifth grader at Dan Mills Elementary School. I just want to welcome her to the People's House and thank her and her family for being here today. Thank you.
Representative Kumar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It has been a delight to have Ms. Hannah Ramos as our intern during this session. She is here in the gallery to our right. She has been very dependable, organized, and a great worker. This lady is going to be successful. Good luck.
Thank you. Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just want to congratulate Coach McWilliams and the Upperman Bees on a big state championship this weekend, and the sophomore Ty Cobb for putting up 33 points against Tullahoma to be Mr. Basketball in 3A. So really excited for them. Also want to take an opportunity to wish my baby girl a happy 21st birthday tomorrow. I know that's hard to believe. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Anyone else seeking recognition? Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Introduction to resolutions.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All resolutions properly filed be introduced pursuant to Order number 17 and placed on the consent calendar, referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Senate Joint Resolutions congratulatory memorializing.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With all Senate joint resolutions congratulatory memorializing and allowed to be placed on the consent calendar pursuant to Rule number 17.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Resolutions lying over.
Leader Lambert, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With all resolutions allowed will be referred to the appropriate standing committee.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Introduction of bills.
Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With the House Bills 1,436 be introduced and passed on first consideration.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Senate bills on first consideration.
Leader Lambert, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With the Senate bills 44, 116, 196, 437, 457, 561, 827, and 916 transmitted by the Senate be held on the desk pending third consideration of their companion House bills.
Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Senate bills on second consideration, House bills on second consideration, petitions, memorials, reports of standing committees, reports of select committees, calendars. Mr. Speaker, the House has a consent calendar.
Chair Lady Moody, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of the consent calendar on third and final read consideration in keeping with Rule 50.
Chair Lady moves passage of the consent calendar properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, any objections been filed?
Mr. Speaker, item 8, House Bill 141 has been objected to by Chairman Clemens. Item 14 has been objected to. House Bill 1337 has been objected to by Representative Garrett. Item 18, House Bill 302 has been objected to by Chairman Clemens. Item 20, House Bill 355 has been objected to by Chairman Clemens. Item 22, House Bill 1020 has been objected to by Chairman Clemens. Item 27, House Bill 1173 has been objected to by Chairman Clemens. Item 121, House Joint Resolution 480 has been objected to by Chairman Clemens. Item 127, HJR 486 has been objected to by Chairman Clemens. And item 28, House Bill 1318 has been objected to by Leader Lambert.
Looks like a busy Thursday. Anyone else seeking recognition on the consent calendar? Seeing none, we're voting on the consent calendar. All members in favor vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 96, no nays.
Having received the constitutional majority, I declare the consent calendar passed by objection. The motion reads here is tabled. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, the House has a regular calendar.
Call up first bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 84 by Representative Sparks.
Representative Sparks, at your desk.
Yes, I'd like to lay that bill on the table if I could, Mr. Speaker.
You want to hold it on the desk or you want to lay it on the desk?
You tell me which one. I want to pass it next year. Thank you, sir. Hope.
I think if that's your goal, we're just going to hold it on the desk without objection. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 859 by Representative Alexander and others relative to transportation.
Representative Alexander, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the passage of House Bill 0859 on third and final consideration.
Representative Alexander moves passage by seconded. Mr. Clerk, call up First Amendment.
House Transportation Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Howe, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Chairman Howe moves adoption of committee amendment number 1, properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of committee amendment number 1 say aye, aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Alexander, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What this bill does is it defines what fully enclosed means concerning an auto cycle. It means to have side panels, a roll bar, and a roof, and a roll bar. Let me start again. A roll bar or a roof and a windshield. And that's all this bill does. And then that person driving that automobile that's fully enclosed will no longer need to wear a helmet. And with that, I renew my motion.
Representative Alexander renews her motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor, House Bill 859 is amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 91, 2 nays, 2 present, unvoted.
House Bill 859 having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. The motion reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1253 by Representative Alexander relative to public schools.
Representative Alexander, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 1253 on third and final consideration.
Representative Alexander moves passage. Public sector. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Education Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman White, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for explanation.
Chairman White moves adoption of committee amendment number 1. Probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of committee amendment number 1 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Alexander, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What this bill does is that it changes the language and amends it by saying 20 and substituting the language 20 and substitute instead for the language 30 days of service for a substitute teacher. Then secondly, it says 6 work weeks of paid leave granted pursuant to the section must be taken consecutively except in extenuating circumstances as determined and approved by the director of schools or the director of the public charter school as applicable, and must be used within 12 months of the birth or the stillbirth of an employee's child or the employee's adoption of a newly placed minor. And with that, I renew my motion.
Representative Alexander renews her motion. Any discussion on the bill? Chairman Clemens, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sponsor, with regard to Section 1, that's the problem that I have with the legislation. I think it's well intended. I think it's a good bill. However, in Section 1, we're extending from 20 to 30 days the amount of consecutive time a substitute can be in a classroom. I feel like that's going to disadvantage a lot of our students. In recent years, we've passed legislation to allow unlicensed individuals to teach in our classes longer and longer, and now we're extending the time that a substitute can be in the classroom. I understand probably the purpose for this is because of Section 2, but I do have concerns about extending this time of our children being in our public school classrooms without a licensed teacher. And this takes that time limit up to a month. So while I appreciate the legislation, I do have concern about that additional 10 days of substitute teaching. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Alexander.
It would make sense to allow a non-certified teacher for 30 days before a certified teacher would be brought in so that we could have a very smooth transition going from one teacher to another instead of a classroom having 3 different teachers in a 30-day period. With that, I renew my motion.
Chairman Spicki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I wholly support this bill. It's a great idea. We have classrooms right now because of this 20 days where that substitute has to cycle out, and then they have to combine both those classes into 40, 50 students. So your intent of this, I believe, is to make sure that we have classrooms that don't go without somebody there to help teach these children. Is that correct?
Representative Alexander.
You are correct.
Chairman Spicki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Johnson.
Thank you. I too have similar concerns about extending the amount of time with a substitute teacher. Our situation right now is we are struggling to have enough teachers, and to extend the amount of time with a substitute is doing a disservice to our kiddos. I do understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate the problem you are trying to solve. That would just give another substitute 10 days, and you're looking for that consistency. And I can appreciate that, but we need to make sure that our kids are with certified teachers. And if we didn't have teachers leaving in such high numbers, if we were doing better for our current teachers, we wouldn't have to be doing things like this, reducing the number of certified teachers in our classroom. So, it's not that big of a concern, but my concern is the way we're putting bills together. This other bill, I fully support and want to vote for because I think it is so critical for our teachers. But I wish these two bills were separate so that two totally different issues could be voted on separately. Thank you.
Representative Alexander, anything?
With that, I'll renew my motion.
All right. Representative McCalman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of House Bill 1253 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 87, 2 nays, 7 present, not voting.
House Bill 1253 having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. The motion reconsider is tabled. Call the next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 860 by Representative Alexander relative to funeral directors and embalmers.
Representative Alexander, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 0860 on third and final consideration.
Representative Alexander moves passage. By second, Mr. Clerk, call the first amendment.
House Commerce Committee Amendment Number 1.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I really mean that. Thank you. We move to adopt.
Sincerity, I appreciate the conciseness of that. Thank you. Chairman Vaughn moves adoption of committee amendment number 1, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of committee amendment number 1 say aye, aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Alexander, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill is currently in Tennessee law, requires funeral director applicants to complete a 2-year program, school and apprenticeship. Under this proposed changes in this House bill, the pathway to licensure would become more flexible by permitting applicants to concurrently complete their apprenticeship alongside their educational requirements, which consist of at least 30 semester hours and 45 quarter hours from school accredited by the American Board of Funeral Service Education. And with that, I renew my motion.
Representative Alexander renews her motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of House Bill 860 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, tie-dye. Please take the vote.
Ayes 94, 1 nay.
House Bill 860 having received constitutional majority, hereby declare passed without objection. Most reconsider is tabled. Let's journal reflect. Representatives Crawford and Pearson are excused. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 700 by Representative Burkhart and others relative to real estate broker licenses. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Burkhart, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 886.
Representative Burkhart moves to substitute form Senate Bill 886, probably seconded without objection. So ordered. Representative Burkhart.
I move passage of Senate Bill 886 on third and final consideration.
Representative Burkhart moves passage of Senate Bill 886 on third and final consideration, probably seconded. Mr. Clerk, call it First Amendment.
House Commerce Committee Amendment Number 1, same as Senate Amendment Number 1.
Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thanks again, Mr. Speaker. We move to withdraw this one.
Without objection, committee amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Burkhart, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 886, prior to January 1st, 2005, principal brokers are exempt from continuing education. This bill simply removes that grandfather clause and requires that all principal brokers who supervise affiliate brokers to take 16 hours of continuing education every 2 years. With that explanation, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Representative Burkhart renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Warner, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 886, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Has any member wished to change their vote? Ms. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 88, 1 nay, 6 present, not voting.
Senate Bill 886, having received a constitutional majority, everybody declare passed without objection. The motion to reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 37 by Representative Davis, relative to the use of drugs for the treatment of pain.
Representative Davis, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 37 on third and final consideration.
Representative Davis moves passage. Following second, Mr. Clerk, call up First Amendment.
House State and Local Government Committee Amendment number 1.
Vice Chairman Wright, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment rewrites the bill. I move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Vice Chairman Wright moves adoption of Committee Amendment number 1, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of Committee Amendment number 1 say aye, aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Davis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So last session, we had the pleasure, based upon the leadership of our illustrious insurance chair, I had the pleasure of co-sponsoring House Bill 2903. It directed TennCare to ensure that FDA-approved non-opioid medications weren't disadvantaged relative to opioids within the state's Medicaid program. The intent of that legislation was to create a level playing field between prescribing requirements for opioids and non-opioids. This bill was unanimously approved by both the House and the Senate and was signed by the Governor Lee. House Bill 37 extends those same provisions within Medicaid to the state employee insurance program, Partners for Health. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Representative Davis renews her motion. Any discussion on the bill? Chairman Clemens, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Sponsor, why would we ever want to give an insurer the power and discretion to adopt and amend a state PDL? How is that a good thing?
Representative Davis.
So I appreciate that question, Chairman. When you asked me that question in calendar and rules, I went back and spoke to our insurance folks. And so the state plan is different. And what they said that because we don't manage our own formulary, we contract with those medical and PBM third parties. And those administrators, they are within those contracts, they negotiate that information. What we're requiring them to do is to include non-opioid medications so that they're not excluded from that preferred drug list. That's what this legislation does.
Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Madam Sponsor. I appreciate that explanation and for highlighting a significant substantive problem with the way that prescription drugs are managed in the state of Tennessee and how the insurance industry controls what patients in this state are able to access. But this legislation allows insurers to adopt or amend a state PDL. That is inherently problematic, despite the inherent problems with our current system. So I guess I'm going to go back to my question is, how is that a good thing? And I appreciate that we're trying to get, if you're trying to get treatment, if you're trying to get more access, but that is not what will ultimately result from allowing insurers to control what is on a state PDL. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Davis.
And so from the amendment, it says in establishing and maintaining the PDL, the insurer shall ensure that a non-opioid drug is approved. And so when I talked to the insurance folks in the administration, they said that contractually, those formularies are not something that they manage, that is something that is negotiated between them. We want to ensure that they are requiring that those non-opioid medications are medications that people who have a propensity for addiction have the ability, if they have to have any sort of surgery, that doctor with that patient can determine that that's medication that will benefit them so that they don't have to suffer in pain. And if they have any sort of family, that there's a propensity in their families for addiction, that these are options for them to use. Thank you. With that, I'll renew my motion.
Representative Capley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor, House Bill 37 has been voted aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 75, 19 nays.
House Bill 37 having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. Most read series table. Next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 824 by Representative Freeman relative to hotel occupancy taxes within metropolitan governments. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the desk.
Representative Freeman, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute conform to Senate Bill 0734.
Representative Freeman moves to substitute form Senate Bill 734 without objection. So ordered. Representative Freeman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 0734 on third and final consideration.
Representative Freeman moves passage of Senate Bill 734 on third and final consideration. Seconded. Mr. Clerk, call for first amendment.
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Representative Freeman, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 0734 is dealing with the Event Marketing Fund, which was created in 2008. The concept was created by the hospitality community and establishes a 50-cent per night hotel room fee on all hotel rooms sold in Davidson County to create a revenue stream to fund large-scale visitor-generated events. I've been asked a couple of times if this is a tax. It's not a tax. It is a fee, and if we don't vote for this, that fee remains. It just directs a portion of that fee to the Event Marketing Fund. The fund currently sunsets in 2026. This legislation would extend it for 6 years to 2032. And some of the events that the fund has recruited in the past is Music City Bowl, NHL All-Star Game, New Year's Eve Live, Nashville's Big Bash, and be used to bring the Super Bowl here. And with that, I renew my motion.
Representative Freeman renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a quick question. I asked you about this in finance. It is sunset, so just confirming that it is sunset. How much money is currently in this account? Do you know?
Representative Freeman.
I do not. Do you?
Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was just concerned that we're extending a fee, $5 million a year that already may have $180 million in it. That's the reason I asked him. I'll circle back up with you later. Thank you.
Representative Freeman.
Yeah, thank you. Great question. My understanding is that they use the bulk of the money every year for recruiting new events. That's the point of it. And it gets reviewed annually by the Metro Finance. All expenditures and expenses are approved through Metro Council. There's a ton of oversight and eyes on it.
Chairman Vaughn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Sponsor, did I hear you say that this was what was going to guarantee us a Super Bowl, or was that just kind of mumbled? I kind of heard something about vote for this and you're going to get us a Super Bowl. Was that what I heard?
Representative Freeman.
I did, and the Titans are going to be playing in it.
Representative Mitchell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question on the bill.
Question's been called. Any objection? We're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 734 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 58, 22 nays, none present, not voted.
Senate Bill 734 having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. Most read series table. Call next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1112 by Representative Fritz and others relative to weather modification.
Representative Fritz, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 1112 on third and final consideration.
Representative Fritz moves passage, following second. Mr. Clerk, any amendments been filed?
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Representative Fritz, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I bring before you today House Bill 1112. This builds upon Title 68, 201, 122 that we put into law last year as part of the Clean Air Act. It builds upon the Title 58-2-116 that is in our current emergency code. and provides the authority for prosecution of violation of this bill to both our district attorneys and our attorney generals. Currently, Tennessee leads the nation in what we're doing to fight against the weather engineering, the geoengineering, weather modification. As many as 25 states now follow us in this attempt. Those states include Florida, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Arizona, New Jersey, Wyoming, and a number of others. Most recently, I think Michigan. I think this is the right thing to do. We get much interest in this from our constituents. I know we all do. It's the right thing to assert that we have not constitutionally agreed to have our weather polluted for the sole purpose of modifying the weather. And we're concerned about the health effects of such. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'd renew my motion.
Representative Fritz renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Mitchell, you recognize.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think we're a week early on this bill this year. Last year, this bill was on April Fool's Day. So we're a week early with it. But I was looking at the fiscal note and it says not significant. Well, these district attorneys are going to need some airplanes or some jets or something to enforce this. So how is it not significant that the enforcement, how are they going to enforce this?
Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just because we don't understand the technical aspects of this shouldn't make us just snarky about the comments. This is an important topic to many Tennesseans. It's an important topic to many folks across the United States. And so with that, Mr. Speaker, I would renew my motion.
Representative Mitchell.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I've sat here and I've looked through 12 pages of Google searching this, and I've went through 3 different studies by 3 different organizations at Harvard. I've went through an organization at Stanford. I've went through an organization of the Royal Air Force in Canada. I've went through the European Union research, and everyone says this does not exist. So I just hate for Tennessee to be putting something in our law books that we know is a conspiracy theory, and it makes our state look bad. With that being said, I'll sit down.
Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll renew my motion.
Representative McCalman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move previous question.
Previous question been called. Is there objection? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of House Bill 1112 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 69, 21 nays.
House Bill 1112 having received constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. The motion reeks here table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1074 by Representative Garrett relative to prior authorization for healthcare services. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Garrett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1063 on third and final consideration.
Representative Garrett moves to substitute and form Senate Bill 1063. Oh, hang on. Representative Garrett, you're recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1063.
Representative Garrett moves to substitute and form Senate Bill 1063. Properly second without objection, so ordered. Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now I move passage of Senate Bill 1063 on third and final consideration.
Representative Garrett moves passage of Senate Bill 1063 on third and final consideration. Properly second. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Health Committee Amendment number 1. Mr. Speaker, same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Terry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, Committee Amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendment.
Representative Garrett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, several years ago, this body passed a piece of legislation that I sponsored regarding prior authorization and gave certain notices to the patient once additional information was requested. A year after that, this General Assembly, in its infinite wisdom, passed legislation that was better than my legislation that I pushed to pass, and it actually made the prior auth statute more clear, and it made the legislation that I passed irrelevant. So this is removing and repealing the legislation I passed 4 years ago. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I'll be happy to take any questions. Otherwise, I renew my motion.
Representative Garrett renews the motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 1063, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? McCallum, aye. Faison, aye. Harris, aye. Halsey, aye. McCallum, aye. Boyd, aye. Ms. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 90, no nays.
Senate Bill 1063 on the seat of Constitution majority. Everybody declare passed by objection. Most consider table. Call next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1038 by Representative Garrett and others relative to juvenile courts. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill's on the desk.
Representative Garrett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move and substitute and conform to Senate Bill 992.
Representative Garrett moves substitute form Senate Bill 992. Probably seconded without objection. So ordered. Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 992 on third and final consideration.
Representative Garrett moves passage of Senate Bill 992 on third and final consideration. Probably seconded. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Judiciary Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Chairman Farmer moves adoption of House Committee Amendment number 1. Probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of Committee Amendment number 1 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopt the next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Garrett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, House Bill 1038 is a bill brought to me by the Administrative Office of the Court. What it does, it merges our juvenile court software programs so they can talk to each other, so we can collect data for the types of issues that happen in juvenile court. You will note last General Assembly, we appropriated over $75 million to integrate our court system, and this is part of that effort. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I'll be happy to take any questions. Otherwise, I'll renew my motion.
Representative Garrett renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Miller, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just one question. I'm reading where the bill removes juvenile courts from the provision. Did you just say that it's in the bill?
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Miller, I'm not sure I quite follow your question about removing. All this does is make sure that juvenile courts are on the same software platform where it's one system.
Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, again, I'm just reading where it states the bill removes juvenile courts from this provision. For an example, the system must provide an integrated case management and accounting software system addressing the statutory responsibilities of the clerks of the General Sessions, Chancery, Circuit, and juvenile courts. The bill removes juvenile courts from this provision. So,
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That's the clarifying point of this piece of legislation from what we did last session. So it just puts them on the same page as all our other levels of court, so their software systems are on the same page.
Representative Miller.
Thank you.
Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Did I hear you say that this bill is from the Administrative Office of the Courts?
Representative Garrett.
Yes, Chairman Clemens.
Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I'm curious why the Administrative Office of the Courts is concerned about files and juvenile court records of school shootings. Did they bring this amendment that was added to this bill, or do they have any opinion on this?
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That amendment was added later in, I believe, full judiciary by Leader Lambeth, and it doesn't have anything to do with the original bill. That portion was not part of what the original bill from the Administrative Office of the Court. What that amendment does is that it makes any juvenile court record that's delinquent proceeding, for a person to open up public inspection and their content subject to public disclosure if that person has committed a homicide on school grounds and is deceased. Those records are now considered a public record. That's what the amendment does.
Chairman Clemens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So just to clarify, the Administrative Office of the Courts did not endorse that amendment. That's not what they brought to you.
Representative Garrett.
I cannot tell you whether they endorsed the amendment or not. They were neutral on the amendment.
Chairman Clemens.
Thank you.
Representative Towns.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sponsor, if this is implemented
at the end of the day, are the systems statewide, will they be integrated and talk to each other?
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, that's the purpose of the legislation, is so we know what's happening in Knox County. We know what's happening in Shelby County. We know what's happening in Sumner County or any other county that is on this system all throughout Tennessee. So we know exactly what's happening inside those juvenile courts. The systems will be able to talk to each other.
Representative Towns.
Now, does it compromise the integrity of the system? Will anybody be able to get into the system and manipulate information, delete, add, change?
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A majority of our counties already use the software that we're going to. And so there's nothing unsecure about the particular software. It has all the safeguards, all the data protections that it has right now, the system currently has. So there's no change whatsoever in how that's going to be secured going forward.
Representative Towns.
In the event that something did happen, what mechanisms do we have in place that maybe catch something like that?
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Did you say something that could test that? I didn't quite catch.
Representative Towns.
No problem. I'm saying in the event that something did happen, how could we catch something being manipulated? Do we have anything that allow us to catch it?
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I can't talk specifically about what the Administrative Office of the Courts and that particular vendor creates and what they do regarding a security breach. But if there is a security breach, I'm sure we wouldn't contract with an entity like this that has sensitive data like this without those safeguards in place and without those notifications in place. Bar none, at the minimum, that would breach a contract that we would have with them and violate the safety of that information if they didn't have those protocols in place. I'm confident that we wouldn't contract with a software company that would have vulnerabilities that this data could be just out there like it could. Now, is it 100% safe? I don't know what would be one you got along the internet would be 100% safe, but there are safeguards to protect the data already in place.
Representative Towns.
Well, on the internet, nothing is. I'm with you 100% on that. Nothing is 100% safe. But right now, Memphis has something, Shelby County has something, Davidson County has something, Knox County has something, Hamilton County has something. We're going to make it all one system, interactive, is what we're saying.
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That is the plan and that is the intent of the legislation.
Representative Towns.
Thank you.
Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And earlier there was a question from my friend from Davidson County on the amendment. The amendment is sponsored by me. It came through the committee system because there is a very disturbed and evil young man that went into a high school in Davidson County and shot and killed a sweet young lady that was there just to learn. That happened just a few months ago. I haven't forgot about it. Y'all haven't forgot about it. And I believe that if a juvenile goes into a school and commits a homicide upon their death, everybody in this state ought to know what their history is. That child never should have had a gun. That child never should have had a gun in a school. That child never should have been in that school based on their history. And it would be my argument once this is public that everyone will know exactly what that history was, and we all can have a conversation on how to make sure that this never happens again. That's what the amendment is for, and I would hope that you would support it.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you to the sponsor. Just looking for clarity on the amendment. When it says that the individual would not have had to have been convicted or adjudicated, being a juvenile, that the records are still going to be open
Wait a minute, is it
for public inspection.
Representative Garrett?
The person if you're talking about Leader Lambert's amendment, the person is dead.
Representative Hardaway.
That's correct. And that's what triggers the access to the records at that point.
Representative Garrett.
Yes, the adjudication is the person is dead because they committed a deadly crime inside the school. So it has to have those two things. There's a shooting, they kill someone, and they're dead. Therefore, the records that relate to the decedent, the criminal, is going to be a public record so we know what happened and why.
Representative Hardaway.
All right, thank you. That's the clarity I saw. Thank you, Speaker.
All right. Any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 992 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 88, 4 nays, 2 present, not voting.
Senate Bill 992 having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed without objection. The motion reads here stable. Call it next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 324 by Chairman Grills and others, relative to emergency powers of the governor. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Grills, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 0027.
Representative Grill moves to substitute and conform Senate Bill 27 without objection. So ordered. Representative Grills.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of SB 0027 on third and final consideration.
Representative Grills moves passage of Senate Bill 27 on third and final consideration. By second, Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Representative Grills, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 27 will safeguard the Tennessee Constitution from being infringed upon by the emergency executive actions by prohibiting the governor from issuing emergency executive orders that will conflict with any provision of the state constitution. And with that, I renew my motion.
Representative Grills renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to? Nope. Representative Powell, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that realize the importance of emergency orders, and right now in this country, we're seeing an overreach of executive powers using emergency declarations to subvert our Constitution. Just wanted to be on record as saying that. Thank you.
Leader Lamberth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Boy, if you think it's bad now, the last 4 years were rough.
Chairman Clemens, you're recognized.
This is fun. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So this seems to be in response to gubernatorial conduct. So is it your concern that the current governor violated or did any of the things that you're seeking to prohibit here?
Representative Grills.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No, not at all. I think you did a very good job over the past 7 years.
Representative Chairman Clemens.
Thanks.
Any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 27, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Ms. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 77, 16 nays.
Senate Bill 27 has received constitutional majority, hereby declare passed without objection. Most read series table. Call next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 801 by Chairman Grills, relative to standards for roofs.
Representative Grills, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage on House Bill 801 on third and final consideration.
Representative Grills moves passage by second. Mr. Clerk, call it First Amendment.
House State and Local Government Committee Amendment Number 1.
Vice Chairman Wright, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment rewrites the bill. I move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Vice Chairman Wright moves adoption. Committee Amendment Number 1, probably second. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of Committee Amendment Number 1 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Grills, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The IECC, which is the International Energy Conservation Code, in 2021 restricted the roof coverings in the state of Tennessee to only highly reflective roofs. And this legislation reinstates the rights of business owners to use any of the previously allowed roof coverings in the state for commercial buildings. With that, I renew my motion.
Representative Grills renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor, House Bill 801 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please, please take the vote.
Ayes 81, 10 nays.
House Bill 801 having received constitutional majority, hereby declared passed without objection. Most read series table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 805 by Chairman Grills and others, relative to investments.
Chairman Grills, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage on House Bill 805 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Grills moves passes following second. Mr. Clerk, any amendments been filed?
Mr. Speaker, no amendments filed.
Chairman Grills, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 805 directs the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System to divest from majority-owned Chinese companies. And after working with the treasurer, this is the legislation we've come up with. And with that, I renew my motion.
Chairman Grills renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of House Bill 805, vote aye. When the bell rings, those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 86, 6 nays, 1 present, not voting.
House Bill 805, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed by objection. Most read series table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 498 by Chairman Hill and others relative to state agencies.
Chairman Hill, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 498 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Hill moves passage by second. Mr. Clerk, call the First Amendment.
House Health Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Terry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt.
Chairman Terry moves adoption. Committee Amendment number 1, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of Committee Amendment number 1 say aye, aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Hill, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 498 reestablishes a task force to examine provider reimbursement rates and provide recommendations to state agencies that contract with providers in Tennessee. This legislation mirrors legislation from a few years ago, seeks to continue the good work done by the previous task force. With that, I renew my motion.
Chairman Hill renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of House Bill 498 as amended, vote aye. When the bell rings, those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 92, no nays.
House Bill 498, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed by objection. Most read series table. Call next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 106 by Chairman Hill and others relative to exemptions for child care licensing.
Chairman Hill, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of House Bill 106 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Hill moves passage by second. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Health Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Terry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to adopt.
Chairman Terry moves adoption. Committee Amendment number 1, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of Committee Amendment number 1 say aye, aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopt. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Hill, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This legislation updates the list of eligible child care facilities that are exempt from DHS licensure. The previous statute was outdated and disorganized, leading to confusion for both consumers and providers. This legislation will allow the department's policies to accurately capture the unique and dynamic landscape of child care space by ensuring exempt agencies are registered and tracked within the data management system, opening and expanding opportunities for approved child care during professional sporting events for children of players and coaches, during home games, parent nights out, other lock-in events. This legislation maintains previous exemptions, includes Parent Day Out, casual care, and homeschoolers. With that, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Chairman Hill renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of House Bill 106 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Travis, aye. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 92, no nays, 1 present, unvoted.
House Bill 106, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed by objection. Most read series table. Call the next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 1000 by Chairman Hicks, relative to annual coverage assessments. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on this.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 577.
Chairman Hicks moves substitute form Senate Bill 577, probably seconded without objection. So ordered. Chairman Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 577 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Hicks moves passage of Senate Bill 577 on third and final consideration, probably seconded. Mr. Clerk, call First Amendment.
House Insurance Committee Amendment number 1, same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Kumar, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the same as Senate amendment. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, Committee Amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this legislation authorizes TennCare to continue to assess hospitals and make charity care and directed payments for the current year, fiscal year 25 annual hospital assessment. With that, Mr. Speaker, I renew my motion.
Chairman Hicks renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Bill 577, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 94, no nays.
Senate Bill 577, having received the constitutional majority, hereby declare passed without objection. Motion to reconsider is tabled. Call the next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 635 by Chairman Williams relative to taxation.
Chairman Williams, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the passage on third and final consideration of House Bill 635.
Chairman Williams moves passage upon second. Mr. Clerk, call the First Amendment.
House Finance, Ways and Means Committee Amendment number 1.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment rewrites the bill. Move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Chairman Hicks moves adoption. Committee Amendment number 1, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of Committee Amendment number 1, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Williams, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill, as amended, would allow taxpayers to increase their Tennessee excise tax liability. With that, I renew my motion.
Chairman Williams renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of House Bill 635 as amended, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 94, no nays.
House Bill 635, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare it passed without objection. Motion to reconsider is tabled. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that completes the regular calendar.
Call up next calendar, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, the House has a message calendar.
Call up first message, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 422 by Speaker Pro Tem Marsh, relative to Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission. Mr. Speaker, on March 10, 2025, the Senate substituted House Bill 422 for Senate Bill 323, adopted Amendment 1, passed House Bill 422 as amended.
Speaker Pro Tem Marsh, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to concur Senate Amendment number 1.
Speaker Pro Tem Marsh moves to concur in Senate Amendment number 1, probably seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Amendment number 1, vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed, vote no. As every member voted, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 79, 11 nays, 2 present, not voting.
Senate Amendment number 1, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare concurred in without objection. Motion to reconsider is tabled. Next message, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, that completes the message calendar.
Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Unfinished business.
Unfinished business. I'll go first as they're talking. Pursuant to Rule 52, I name Representative Harris as sponsor of House Bill 537 and Representative Love as sponsor of House Bill 698. Leader Lamberth, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After consulting with the Assistant Minority Leader and the Chairman, I move that House Bill 1122 be heard in the Agriculture and Natural Resources Subcommittee this week.
You heard the motion. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Leader Lamberth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That House Bill 490 be heard in the Civil Justice Subcommittee this week.
For the motion, any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Leader Lamberth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move that House Bill 1358 be heard in the Department Agency Subcommittee this week.
For the motion, any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Scheduling and procedural announcements.
Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, Insurance Subcommittee that normally meets on Wednesday will meet Tuesday, that's tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. in House Hearing Room 3 with full insurance immediately following. Joint convention today at 3:30.
So please don't leave. All right. Next order, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call.
Roll call. Ms. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Speaker, 92 members present.
Next order, Ms. Clerk.
That completes the regular order, Mr. Speaker.
Leader Cochran, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move the House stand in recess until 9 a.m. on Thursday, March 27th, 2025.
Without objection, the House stands recess till 9 a.m. on Thursday, March 27th, 2025.